Alright guys, in today's video I want to talk about why after 9 years I finally closed the chapter of living in the Philippines. I came out with a few videos about this, but I wanted to kind of dive into it a little bit more. By the way, I'm at a really cool cafe. It's called Matt Braun's Cafe. Now, just to respect other people that are sitting in the area, I'm not going to really show in this particular video the restaurant and cafe, but if you want to see a video on it, it's really cool. It's called Matt Braun's Cafe and it'll be up in the corner here and you can take a look. But real briefly, here's just a little bit of the background. Just really beautiful, and it's a cool day here in Nairobi. One of the things that I love, 19 degrees Celsius. I'll put the Fahrenheit down there below as well. But yeah, just enjoying another lovely day here in Nairobi, Kenya. But 9 years is a long time anywhere. And you know, for me, the Philippines wasn't just where I lived for 9 years. It's kind of where I kind of rebuilt my life and started a new chapter in my life. And July 28th of 2025 last year is when I finally closed that chapter and moved on. So stick around for today's video.
Same four walls, same fading year. Got these plans stuck in my head. Southeast Asia calling me instead. Bangkok nights in Bali shores. Sick of dreaming, want something more. Pack your bags, don't.
All right, so I moved from the Philippines not because I stopped liking the Philippines. It's really because I kind of changed myself over time. And I did come out with a video about the Philippines. I called it Death by a Thousand Cuts. And it wasn't just one thing that slowly made me want to move. It was just a progression of different things throughout time. And it kind of wore on me. And also a lot of it was that I changed, became a totally different person, and I wanted to explore the world. And that's part of the reason I'm here in Kenya at this moment. But again, in today's video, I'm going to talk about what the Philippines gave me, what wore me down, and why it was time to move forward. And the first thing I want to talk about is why I came to the Philippines. Now, a lot of people know this already, but I'll discuss it again. I didn't come to the Philippines because I was retired. I wanted to start a new life. Some of that, yes, but I wasn't retired. I was still, gosh, I want to say I was like 45 years old, something like that. It was in 2016. I had visited in 2015, but I ended up getting a job offer from a Japanese company who owned a couple of English schools in Cebu, and the job was for an English advisor. And if you looked at the Philippine salary, it was very dismal, but they offered me, I can disclose it now, but it was 115,000 pesos per month. But you look at the salary itself, it's not really that much. But what was included was a work visa, health insurance, transportation costs to and from work, food allowance, which covered my meals usually for my breakfast and my lunch at school. And also it covered paid vacation, a one trip back home to the US each year. And it also covered a housing allowance, which pretty much covered my condo that I was renting. So really, it was almost like an all-inclusive type thing, package deal. I really didn't have much bills. And then I would also teach English online after work. And it was kind of like a reset for me. But again, I didn't really come for adventure, even though it became an adventure. But more or less, I needed a reset, and I wanted slower pace and less stress after a very nasty divorce in the US. And I would have to say that life felt very different immediately after I moved to the Philippines. Again, less stress. I had more genuine friendships. I think people valued relationships much more. And I think conversations mattered more than schedules. When I worked in the US, there'd be people would work and you'd say, hey, you want to go out for a drink? You want to go do this? everybody had their own busy lifestyle. Everybody just went home. It was very rare that we would all get together, except for when I had my going away party that I'm leaving. Then we all got together. Hey, goodbye, Gio. But purpose slowly turned into a life, and that's one thing that I have to say that the Philippines gave me. So, again, I had friendships that, to this day, I still have a lot of friends in the Philippines that really became almost like family. Philippines taught me a lot about patience, and trust me, you will need patience if you live in the Philippines. It will test you. That's one of the death by 1,000 cuts. And it's definitely a much simpler lifestyle. In fact, this is where I became a minimalist, where it became very easy for me to get some possessions and easily be able to walk away from them. I don't get tied to possessions anymore. I have no problem just leaving a TV or leaving a nice sofa. It's really not a big deal for me. And definitely an appreciation for connection, relationships over things, possessions. And I learned that happiness doesn't require constant consumption. Now, there's a honeymoon phase, of course, versus, real life. And, of course, when you first move, everything feels new. In fact, I loved the Philippines for the longest time, but eventually all that newness wore off. And that's why at around 2.5, 3 year mark, I ended up moving to Vietnam, taking a higher end English teaching job there. But eventually that even kind of wore me down with the lack of English. The dating was pretty dismal compared to Philippines anyway. It's still much better than the US, but compared to the Philippines. And I ended up going back. And at that point, I also got locked down by the pandemic at that point. But yeah, when you live overseas for a while, daily life feels like an adventure. You just go to the grocery store. You're like, wow, look how different things are, how exciting it is to do this and do that. It feels more like an adventure. But eventually routine replaces novelty, and you start to fall into routines and you realize, okay, all right, I go to the coffee shop, I go to work, I come home, I do a little more work, I watch TV, maybe you go on a date. Other than a few things, it starts to feel like the same lifestyle again. Nothing dramatic, nothing catastrophic, just kind of small friction points appear. And again, I think that's common anywhere you're going to live. So I want to talk a little bit about the video I came out with, Death by 1,000 Cuts. That video, well over 100,000 views, and a lot of people, I guess it resonated with a lot of people because a lot of people agreed. I got a few angry Filipinos and a few expats that were like, how dare you talk about the Philippines in a bad or a negative matter. I think you're fooling yourself if you think any country doesn't have its negative points, and the Philippines is no different. And again, if I had to say, is it one big problem in the Philippines for me? No, it's just a lot of small ones over time that just wear you down. Overcharged here, a scam here, some bad dating, the infrastructure, the power outages, just different things that just kind of wear you down. Again, like bureaucracy delays, communication gaps, infrastructure problems, logistical challenges. So it's not anger, it's not resentment, it's just fatigue. Over 9 years, you just get fatigue. And so this is kind of where I would talk about adaptation, exhaust. And living abroad is going to require constant adaptation. At first exciting, later it's normal, but eventually tiring. So again, this isn't really about negativity. It's just clarifying. Nothing in particular was wrong. Philippines can definitely give you some peace and healing for a lot of people who've lived overseas, went through bad divorces, higher costs, what have you, stress from different things. Philippines can certainly cure a lot of that. But growth sometimes requires movement. And I just felt ready for new experiences. At first I said, you know what? Let me go check out Thailand. And I continue to love Thailand. Thailand's still probably, even over Kenya, at the top of my list. But I've been to Thailand several times, Vietnam several times, Malaysia several times, and I wanted something new, so I got out of Southeast Asia for a while. And here I am. It's now March here in Kenya, and I will be leaving at the end of the month finally, though, to go back to Thailand. After that, Well, I'll discuss that in a later video on what I'll be doing. But for now, I enjoyed my time here immensely. But I'll be going back to Bangkok and exploring more of Southeast Asia. But the one thing I can say is the Philippines definitely changed me in some positive ways, I would say. More patient. I have more patience than I've ever had in my life, let me tell you. Less materialistic. Like I said, I don't really need any possessions anymore. You know, there's like a few key items that I like to have, a few gadgets, you know, like a laptop, earbuds, phone, whatever. Other than that, I don't really care about possessions anymore. I care more about experiences, friendships, people I meet along the way. I appreciate that much more. I have become much more adaptable. Pretty much wherever I go now, I just kind of adapt and I kind of go with the flow, and I can't say I ever did that before in my life. And I'm also much more culturally aware. Again, I would say that happiness isn't tied to geography. It's tied to mindset. But I do have, again, a lot of gratitude towards the Philippines. It gave me a lot of friendships, a lot of different lessons, humanity, and certainly a lot of growth along the way. And so that was great. I've taken that and I've taken that with me, and here I am just enjoying life. By the way, it just started raining, but it just kind of stopped. It was sprinkling and then it stopped. So, new chapter for me. I probably at some point will say goodbye to Southeast Asia for a little while. I still see myself, like Thailand is still like up here as far as the top place that I would like to retire at. I haven't come across any other place that says this is the best place. So far, for me, it feels like Thailand. But I think life moves in chapters. You know, it's like a book. You have a chapter. It was a good chapter, you know, you close it. Sometimes it's a bad chapter, you close it and you move on to the next chapter. And that's kind of how I feel like with the Philippines. And I don't even know if I will ever go back to even visit. I don't want to say never, but certainly not to live. It's just, again, it's a chapter of my life that I've closed and I've already moved forward. And, you know, some chapters last months, some last years. Mine lasted 9 years. And I think sometimes growth means just turning that page. So it's not necessarily goodbye to the Philippines. It's just kind of gratitude, but I can say that I will never live there again. Visit, I can't say because I do have a lot of friends still there. The Philippines didn't just change where I lived. It changed who I became. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. And I will see everyone in the next video. Ciao.
Got these plans stuck in my head. Southeast Asia calling me instead. Bangkok nights and Bali shores. Sick of dreaming, want something more. Pack your bags, don't hesitate. Gio, let's go before it's too late. Time keeps slipping away from us. Keep living life.